Chapter 9. Hard to Handle. I was still lying in my bed, although it was almost 9, remembering last night's kiss, my first kiss, when the phone rang. I didn't appreciate whoever was on the other end interrupting my reverie. The number was local, and it wasn't Ty's. Hello? Hey, Essie, it's Mara, Ty's sister. She added the latter in the form of a question, as though I knew any other Maras, or as if I wouldn't remember the name of Ty's twin sister. Hi, Mara, what's going on? I asked, totally clueless as to why she'd be calling me. I wanted to see if you felt like going to Savannah with me today. I need to do some serious shopping before school starts, and it would give us a chance to get to know each other. Say yes. Sure. What time? I'll come pick you up in an hour. Okay, an hour. I'll be ready. Exactly 1 hour later, she pulled up in the most fabulous car I had ever seen. A shiny red two-seater convertible. A Porsche, maybe? I walked over casually, opened the door, and situated myself in the tan leather seat as though I'd rode in one of these every day. Hey, she said in a bubbly tone. Hey, I replied, half smiling, not really sure what else to say. You ready to shop? I guess, but by the looks of this car, I'm not sure I can afford the same stores you can. What is it, by the way? It's a Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet. And don't worry about the stores, Essie. We can go wherever you'd like. Have you been to Savannah yet? No. The furthest I've been is Black Creek. I heard you were there last night, she teased, a big smile lighting up her flawless face. You did? I asked uneasily. Ty told me he kissed you. He told you that? I asked incredulously. Don't be mad. When he came home last night, he had this look on his face. I just knew that something had happened, so I made him tell me. I'm not mad. Slightly embarrassed, maybe. Well, don't be. Ty and I are really close. We are twins, after all. We usually tell each other everything. That's good to know, I said warily, filing that bit of information away for future reference. Anyway, it was no big deal, I added, hoping she bought it. I wasn't sure I liked the idea of them sharing everything, at least as far as I was concerned. No big deal? Really? That's not how Ty described it. Apparently, you're not going to drop this. Apparently not, she said coolly. Fine. Okay, tell me everything, she insisted eagerly, the smile returning to her face. What do you want to know? I asked, resigned to the fact that she wasn't going to give up until I gave her what she wanted. Start from when you arrived at Black Creek and don't stop until the time you drove away. I thought for a second, knowing I'd have to choose my words carefully for fear they'd be repeated to Ty verbatim. So I quickly related the evening's events as matter-of-factly as possible, glossing over the kiss in the field and trying hard to mask the excitement that was coursing through my veins. Really, Essie? She said, sounding concerned. Ty likes you. He really likes you. And you're making it sound like it was nothing. If it was nothing, then fine. I'll let him know. But if you like him, why are you acting like you don't? Mara, this is extremely weird for me. Do you not see that? You're putting me in an awkward position. I can't talk to you like a girlfriend when I know that you're going to tell Ty everything I say. I don't want him to know everything. I won't tell him everything, Essie, I promise. And he didn't give me any details, by the way. You know how guys are. He said he liked you and that he kissed you. That's it. That's why I need you to fill in the important stuff. She had an undeniable persuasiveness about her, just like her brother, and I was unable to maintain my original stance. All right, then. I took a deep breath and dove in, but not at all sure how deep this new friendship would become. This time I recounted everything, just as I would have for Jane. She seemed pleased. We made it to Savannah in about 20 minutes, thanks to Mara's lead foot and her seeming lack of concern over the possibility of a speeding ticket. As we made our way through the city streets, I noticed that my new BFF definitely did not mind the attention she garnered in her Porsche, or out of her Porsche for that matter. Men and women both appeared to fawn over her. I felt like the ugly stepsister. Wherever we went, she was the center of attention, which, of course, had its perks. Despite her assurance that I needn't worry about her choice of stores, we flitted from one fancy store to the next. Me enviously eyeing all the beautiful clothing I couldn't afford, but being a dutiful cheerleader. She practically throwing items at the willing salespeople without even trying them on. Mara had valet parked at a hotel called The Mansion in the historic district of the city and had had all her purchases sent to the concierge to be retrieved later. After our whirlwind shopping spree, she treated me to lunch at the fancy restaurant next door to the hotel, where they didn't bring a check. She just signed something. Maybe my initial assessment of this friendship was a little hasty. Then the inevitable happened. It started with a subtle comment. "Essie," she cooed as we were walking from the restaurant to yet another store. "I think you are naturally beautiful. You don't have to wear any makeup at all. And your hair, I'll bet you just towel dry it, run a comb through it, and you're done. And it looks great. But I was just wondering if you'd let me get you a makeover. I know this amazing place that..." "A makeover?" I interrupted. "I don't think so, Mara. I don't like people fussing over me. And I wouldn't feel like me if I was all made up." "That's the point. It's a fantasy, a break from the same old. Like I was saying, I know this amazing place that does hair and makeup. I'll do it too, Essie, and we can get a pedicure if you want." She said this with so much excitement in her voice that I felt obliged to indulge her. Before I could say anything else, she grabbed my arm and pulled me through a door into this fashionably hip space that I guessed was the amazing place she had told me about only seconds earlier. Based on the stores we had already been to that day, this establishment was unexpected, someplace I might actually choose on my own. I love brightly colored objets d'art with a folk influence, and this place had them in abundance. A girl with several visible tattoos and hot pink chunked hair greeted us cheerfully when she saw Mara. "Hey girl, it's been a while. Where you been hiding?" They hugged. "We just got back from Paris, and I brought you something, Nicole," she said, reaching into her purse, pulling out a small box and handing it to the curious girl. Nicole brought the box up close to her right eye, and she opened it slowly, squinting to see inside. "Ooh," she trilled, throwing the top off to reveal a funky bracelet replete with a variety of charms, all black. "I love it," she said as she deftly fastened it on her left wrist. I could make out a mask, a book, a musical note, a heart. That was nice, I thought to myself. They hugged again. "So, what are we doing today?" "Essie and I would like our hair and makeup done, and a pedicure too." As Nicole and another girl, Christine, who sported short, spiky hair and diamond studs of varying sizes covering the outer edges of both ears, worked on us with meticulous care, Nicole asked Mara, "When are we going to karaoke again? It's been too long." "It has. I'm free next weekend. I'll text you." 2 arduously long hours later, we were done. All made up and no place to go. Leaving the salon, I now felt ridiculous in my shorts, t-shirt, and flips. But it was late afternoon, almost dinner time, and as we headed back toward the hotel where we had parked much earlier in the day, I assumed our next stop would be Eden. As soon as we walked through the hotel door, a young woman in an impeccably tailored suit welcomed us. "Mara, it's so nice to see you again. Are you ready for your packages?" "Yes, Carrie. May we use a room for a few minutes?" "Of course." "I'd like all my packages brought in, please." "Of course," she repeated and showed us to a small private room off the lobby. "Can I have anything else brought in for you?" "Maybe some sparkling water with lime. Thank you." Carrie smiled and closed the door. "What are we doing, Mara?" I asked, totally confused. I have a surprise for you. Don't be angry. I'm not angry. I'm just wondering what the heck we're doing. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Mara walked purposefully and made a grand gesture as she opened the door. A valet entered with her numerous purchases from the day's shopping spree and placed them on the long table located on the opposite side of the room. He left for a second and reappeared with a silver tray holding 2 bottles of sparkling water, 2 crystal glasses, and a crystal bowl containing several lime wedges. She discreetly slipped him a tip, and then we were alone. So, again, what are we doing here? Well, she began, I was thinking that since we look absolutely fabulous, we might as well go out this evening. I can't go anywhere decent dressed like this. We need to go home first. That's part of the surprise. I picked up a few things for you. What? Yeah, I noticed some of the items you were looking at, and I asked the clerks to wrap them up for you. Mara, I don't know what to say. This is beyond generous. I feel really awkward right now. I mean, you've already insisted on paying for lunch and our makeovers. This is over the top. It's only money, Essie, and I have plenty. Please let me do this. I really, really want to. Come on, we'll have so much fun. I sighed, supposing she wouldn't take no for an answer. Yay! She exclaimed and started tearing through the bags, throwing several pieces of clothing my way. Pick something. I chose a slim pink floral skirt and a loose-fitting pink tank top with satin edging. It was beautiful. I stared into the full-length mirror, admiring my shiny, flat-ironed hair and perfect yet subtle makeup applied in various shades of pink. I no longer felt like the ugly stepsister. All I needed were some glass slippers, which, of course, the shopping queen had generously provided. I twirled around for Mara, certain I must be glowing. You look beautiful, she encouraged. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything. This day has been amazing. It's not over yet, she reminded me. We're at least going to have dinner, and we'll see what we feel like doing after that. I should call my mother. I told her we were just going shopping for the day. I need to let her know that we'll be late. Good idea, she agreed as she slipped into one of the outfits she bought. All eyes were on us as we made our way through the lobby. It was an exhilarating feeling, being the center of attention, one I was not used to, but loving at the moment. Enjoy your evening, ladies, said the valet stationed by the front door as he opened it for us. Thank you, I beamed. Although the restaurant that we were headed to was only a couple of blocks away, Mara informed me that we were taking a taxi. She didn't want us to ruin our new shoes on the cobblestone sidewalks. The cab let us out in front of a cute restaurant adorned with an alligator. As we were being shown to our table, I was looking around, admiring the decor, not paying attention. When we approached our table, I was shocked to see Ty sitting there, his dazzling smile lighting up the room. Surprise, Mara whispered, leaning in toward me. Ty stood up and pulled out the chair opposite his, motioning for me to sit. I panicked for a moment, thinking that Mara might sit next to Ty and that all their attention would be focused on me. Thankfully, she sat next to me. What are you doing here? I asked him guardedly. Mar called and told me how beautiful you looked, and she didn't think it should be wasted on her. She wasn't exaggerating, he said smoothly, staring. Uncomfortable could not possibly describe how I was feeling. When I thought it was just me and Mara, I felt empowered. Being all of 16 years old, dressed in haute couture, and having a new BFF with unlimited disposable income was thrilling. Sitting across from this gorgeous guy with his perfectly coiffed hair and soulful brown eyes was terrifying. Instinctively, I looked down. Our server approached to take our drink order and to see if we'd like any appetizers. Ty took the initiative to order a fruit and cheese course, along with some fried green tomatoes and still water all around. "You haven't had fried green tomatoes yet, have you?" he asked me. "Not yet, but I'll try anything once." "I'm glad to know that," he said playfully. I smiled nervously. Mara excused herself from the table, and Ty took the opportunity to sit in her seat. He turned the chair and brought it so close to mine that it touched. I turned slightly to face him. "I can tell that you're nervous, and I just wanted to tell you that you have no reason to be. You are beautiful with or without all this," he said, gesturing with his hand toward my face and clothes. "And I'm looking forward to spending more time with you." He paused. "One more thing." He kissed me softly on my lips, and I automatically closed my eyes. "I couldn't wait to do that again. Forgive me?" "I forgive you," I said quietly, my eyes still closed. "Aww," Mara interrupted. Ty stood quickly, pulled out her chair, and returned to his original seat. Feeling more at ease after the kiss, dinner passed without incident. Brother and sister peppered me with questions about my background, my friends, my family, my interests. They didn't give me much of an opportunity to reciprocate. When our server came with a dessert menu, Ty declined. To be honest, I was a little disheartened. During the interrogation, I had mentioned how much I loved chocolate, from malted milk balls to triple chocolate layer cake and everything in between. The food here was delicious and interesting, and I was sure the dessert wouldn't disappoint. As we were walking out, I began to think of the M&Bs that I had stashed in my room at home. I needed chocolate like some people needed drugs. Whether I was happy or sad or nervous or whatever, chocolate was my friend. We grabbed another taxi, and I assumed we were returning to the hotel. When we pulled up to a place that was obviously not the hotel, I asked Ty where we were. He raised his index finger to his lips and shook his head. We stepped out of the cab, and to my absolute delight, we were at a place called Lulu's Chocolate Bar. "I am so happy right now," I gushed, standing on the sidewalk, staring in the window. Ty laughed. "Why don't we go in and see if there's anything you'd like?" "Let's!" He opened the door for me and Mara to enter. The aroma of chocolate and coffee was wonderful. Mara immediately spotted a guy she knew at the bar and pranced away. Ty took advantage of the situation, finding us a table for two in a dimly lit corner, and we sank into a couple of high-back leather chairs. From an internet jukebox, some old Motown played faintly in the background of the long, narrow space, which was flanked by exposed brick walls. When our server came over, Ty stood up and gave her a hug. "Mia, it's good to see you." "You too, stranger. It's been a while," said the girl with the long dark hair and friendly smile. "We've been traveling. Just got back a few days ago." He turned to look at me. "Mia, I'd like you to meet Essie." "It's great to meet you, Essie. Is this your first time here?" "It is. I just moved to Eden a couple of weeks ago. Ty and Mara have been showing me around Savannah today. They obviously saved the best for last." "I'm sure you'll love it here." Ty ordered for the both of us a chocolate espresso creme brulee, a triple chocolate mousse, a chocolate layer cake, a couple of chocolate truffles, and 2 coffees. In spite of how much I prided myself on my independence, I secretly loved that he took that liberty without saying a word. It was so Pierce Brosnan in the Thomas Crown affair. He reached across the table and took my hands in his. "Now, where did we leave off? I don't think you told me about your father." "And you haven't told me much about anything. You first." "We'll get to that, I promise. But right now, I want to know everything there is to know about you. So tell me about your dad, please." It was becoming clear that Ty and Mara got what they wanted, so I acquiesced. "Well, His name is Sam, and he's an architect in Boston. I'm sure you'd like him. Everybody does. He's one of those guys who never meets a stranger. Plus, he's really funny. So, y'all were close? Yes, I said in a tone laced with dismay. You miss him? It wasn't a question. I do. I was angry that he didn't fight my mother to force us to stay in Massachusetts, but I guess it wouldn't have made a difference. She was intent on taking the job here. Why didn't you just stay there with your dad? I could never leave my mom alone. She needs me. The kids need me, I said, realizing for the first time that I had never even considered that as a viable option. That was awfully magnanimous of you. I loved the fact that he not only knew that word, but that he used it properly. My affinity for writing required a decent knowledge of vocabulary. However, I didn't normally have the chance to use it in everyday conversation. Hardly, just pragmatic. He smiled his dazzling smile. Modest, too. Mia returned with our coffee and the assortment of heavenly chocolate confections that Ty had ordered for us. I fixed my coffee and stirred it slowly, watching the spoon go round and round, contemplating the past few days. My total distress over the sudden move to Eden had turned to euphoria since meeting Ty. Present bliss aside, though, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. While everything about him seemed perfect, I was keenly aware that nothing is perfect. The old adage, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is, came to mind. But as he was bringing a spoonful of chocolate mousse to my mouth, I filed those thoughts away for another time. So, this is all it takes to make you happy? Mm-hmm, I answered, my mouth full of mousse. This is going to be easy then, he said mischievously. What's going to be easy? Making you fall in love with me? Oh my gosh. He did not just say that. How was I supposed to respond? I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I don't know what to say, I finally said, honestly. You don't have to say anything. I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. I heeded his advice and said nothing. He held out a truffle. Thank you. He watched me intently as I ate my truffle, and neither of us said anything for a minute or so. So, what do you think of Eden? He asked in what I imagined was his attempt to fill the now awkward silence. I helped him out. Frankly, I was expecting a date here to consist of line dancing at a local country bar. He burst out laughing. I'm sure your expectations would have been met had you gone out with Jackson or Colton. Hey, they seem nice. They were the ones who invited me to Black Creek. They're good guys, and I guess I owe them for that. Since we're on the subject, what was going on with Colton when you suddenly appeared at the pit? I mean, all you did was say hi to me, and he immediately backed off. I'm sure I don't know what you mean, he said, his voice oozing with spurious sincerity. So that's how it's going to be, huh? He quickly put a big piece of the chocolate layer cake in his mouth. Mara came whirling over at that point. Hey, brother, are you behaving? Of course. Are you? Never, she teased, and she was gone. The prior awkwardness had disappeared, and we talked easily for the next couple of hours, slowly making our way through every last bit of chocolate on the table and drinking cup after cup of coffee. There was no way I was going to sleep any time soon, but the chocolate bar was closing. We found Mara and caught a cab back to the hotel. On the way, Ty asked her if she minded if he took me home. She winked at me and asked if that was what I wanted. I'll be fine, I assured her. Once at the hotel, we waited for her car to be brought around, put her in it, and waved as she drove off. Do you have to be home by a certain time? Ty asked me as soon as Mara was out of sight. I don't have a curfew, if that's what you mean. What did you have in mind? I'd love for you to take a walk along the river with me. It's a beautiful night." "I'd like that." He took my hand and we headed toward the coast. As we strolled along the sidewalks lined with unique shops, he patiently indulged me as I stopped at almost every window to peer inside. Savannah was very cool. I tried to remember why I was so upset about moving here. I could hear a cacophony of music spilling over from the bars on River Street before we actually got there. As we got closer, I could distinguish what sounded like an Irish sing-along. Ty put his arm around my waist and drew me close to him as we crossed the street, stepping carefully over the railroad tracks. The moon shone brightly, and its reflection was beautiful on the calm surface of the water. Just before we reached the guardrail that separated the sidewalk from the river, we stopped. "Let's sit here for a bit," Ty suggested, moving me toward an unoccupied bench. After sitting in comfortable silence for several minutes, watching a couple of container ships drift past, he asked if I was ready to walk some more. I was up for anything that allowed this night to continue. He jumped up quickly and extended his hand to help me up. He held on to it as we walked along the river's edge, talking effortlessly, sharing our concerns about senior year and college applications. When the brick sidewalk ended, a destination that had looked very far off from where we began, we turned around and stopped at a small park containing a bronze statue of a woman with her dog. I didn't have time to study it as Ty whisked me past. He wanted to sit down behind the image, conveniently out of the view of any tourists who might pass by. "What are we doing?" "I need to hold you." If that was a line, I was buying it. He looked so sweet and sincere. I wished that I had thought to change into my shorts and t-shirt. I didn't want to ruin the nicest clothes I'd ever owned. But I said nothing, certain he would have told me not to worry about it. So I kicked my shoes off and followed his lead. He twirled me around with his right hand holding mine, as though we were on the dance floor, and stopped me when my back was against his chest. Carefully, he guided us downward onto the soft grass. Seated behind me, his legs were on either side of mine, his hands now on my bare shoulders, slowly moving them down my arms. Although it was warm, I shivered. He wrapped his arms around my waist, embracing me tightly for a moment. Suddenly, I felt his lips on my ear as he whispered, "I'll keep you warm." "I'm not cold." "But you have chill bumps." "Only because I'm so close to you," I admitted reluctantly. Without saying another word, he began kissing my ear, then moved to my neck, taking his hands from my waist and placing them around my biceps, squeezing gently. My body went from tense to limp as his lips moved from my neck to my shoulder and back again. His breath was warm on my skin. I wanted so desperately to turn around and kiss him back, but I was paralyzed. When he brought his hands to the back of my neck and ran his fingers up through my hair, grabbing hold of it with loosely clenched fists, we fell backward onto the grass. I positioned myself on my side, my head resting on my elbow, and laughed nervously. Before I could catch my breath, his hand was behind my head, pulling me to him, kissing me hard. "This is too much," I thought, and then I felt his knee between my legs, his body moving on top of mine. I tried to stop him, to pull away, but he was so strong. When I was finally able to turn my head away, I yelled at him, "Get off me! Stop! Ty, get off of me!" Immediately, he jumped up. "Essie, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I thought..." "Thought what?" I asked incredulously. He just looked at me, speechless. "You need to take me home. Now, please." I picked up my shoes and started walking. "Essie, I am so sorry," he repeated. "Wait, please." "I have nothing to say to you, Ty Gregory, except please take me home now." "I will, but give me a minute. Look at me." I didn't want to look at him. I was afraid that even now I would melt when his eyes met mine. "Please let's go," I pleaded, but without all the rage that I had unleashed just a moment earlier. "As soon as you look at me. Please, Essie," he implored softly. Just as I feared, every last bit of rage evaporated when our eyes met. "I am truly sorry, Essie. Please say you forgive me." What was this magnetism that drew me to him, even in a situation like this? I wondered. I had every right to be angry. He had gone too far. He had really scared me. Yet, when I looked into his eyes, I couldn't resist him. "I forgive you," I said compliantly, but not really meaning it. "Thank you." We made it back to the hotel pretty quickly, our conversation terse. The valet saw us approaching, and he ran to get Ty's vehicle. A minute later, he pulled up in a car that was even more outrageous than Mara's. I saw the prancing horse and knew immediately that it was a Ferrari. I just shook my head. This was all too much. We sped off from the hotel through the now empty streets of Savannah, Ty taking out his frustration on the gear shift. He drove even faster than his sister, and we made our way quickly to the highway. Not that I minded, that just meant I'd be home sooner. A few silent minutes later, he pulled into my driveway and shut off the engine. I reached for my purse with my left hand and the door handle with my right. Ty gently put his hand on my left forearm. "Don't leave like this, Essie." I glanced at his hand on my arm and then at him, being careful not to look too long. He removed it, seeming hurt. I opened the door and got out. "Thank you for dinner and for taking me to the chocolate bar," I said without emotion, closing the door quietly, and I walked into my house. A half hour later, as I was lying in bed, unable to sleep, I got a text from Mara. "What the heck happened? Ty's really upset, but he won't talk to me. I don't want to talk either. Send. I can help. No thanks, Mara. I'm going to sleep. Send. Off."